9 powerful psychological strategies, and they'll give you priority. As students of Stoicism, we understand that true influence doesn't arise from demanding attention, but rather from commanding genuine respect. Today, we'll uncover 9 psychological strategies rooted in timeless Stoic wisdom, which, when subtly applied, can magnify your presence and ensure you become a priority in any professional or social setting. One of these principles leverages a subtle yet extraordinarily powerful facet of human psychology. I urge you to stay with me until the very end, as each lesson incrementally builds upon the next. If you miss one, and you'll miss the full picture. If you also seek continuous self-improvement and the ability to ethically influence, I encourage you to join our community of modern Stoics, applying these principles through mindfulness and virtuous action. Now let's study each strategy. Lesson 1. Cultivate an air of mystery. The Stoic philosophers, from Marcus Aurelius to Seneca, emphasized the virtues of discretion and deliberate obscurity. Revealing too much about oneself too soon erodes fascination and blunts your edge. Yet divulging too little also hinders connection. Mastering the delicate balance between openness and secrecy is key. As Seneca observed, nothing is more effective than the mask of hidden feelings. In our age of non-stop social media, oversharing and paramount transparency, going against the grain by maintaining an element of deliberate mystery sets you apart. It compels those around you to actively seek you out in an effort to uncover more. You become a fascinating riddle, begging to be decoded, rather than an open book whose contents are casually skimmed. There is a perpetual allure to wondering what makes you tick and discovering new facets over time. This isn't about being vague or misleading. Authenticity remains paramount. It simply means letting your words, actions, and revelations tell a compelling story piece by piece, rather than unloading your entire life drama in one go. As any screenwriter knows, pacing is everything. Marcus Aurelius's meditations frequently extol the virtues of keeping one's own counsel rather than thoughtlessly parroting popular narratives. Filtering external noise to project self-assurance lends you an authoritative air. Start applying this by being more selective in what you openly share day to day while remaining approachable. For example, briefly mention picking up tennis recently when asked about hobbies, but don't ramble on giving your whole athletic history unprompted. When appropriate, disclose just enough to indicate untold depths beneath, making people curious to uncover more in future interactions. Over time, letting others earn a more unfiltered perspective builds intimacy and retention. Lesson 2. Harnessing the power of strategic silence. Akin to artful mystery, the Stoics also extolled purposeful silence as a pathway to enhanced influence and self-mastery. We've all witnessed those loud voices striving to dominate every discussion, anxiously filling any momentary lulls in dialogue to stroke their egos. Yet true influencers understand that sometimes the most potent phrases are unspoken. Consider social gatherings where you listen attentively as others energetically debate policies or philosophies. Then, during a brief pause, you gently contradict a widely accepted viewpoint or drop an insightful observation that shifts the entire conversation. In those moments of powerfully redirected dialogue, you grasp the immense authority that strategic silence affords. Marcus Aurelius himself, one of history's most influential figures, was famously laconic, speaking only when absolutely necessary. Yet this scarcity imbued his words with great weight. This isn't about suppressing your voice entirely. However, by first listening deeply to understand context before asserting your perspectives, you gain an automatic edge. It projects social intelligence along with confidence grounded in contemplation rather than bravado. Start practicing this by occasionally withholding immediate reactions when controversies arise. Allow others to fully articulate their positions first. Once emotions settle, thoughtfully ask sincere questions to understand their motivations more completely. Instead of just waiting for your turn to speak, listen with genuine curiosity. Then, during natural discussion lulls, offer unique yet compassionate counterpoints that get people to reconsider their stances. This balance of consideration and concision makes your eventual contributions resonate deeply. Lesson 3. Master Persuasive Storytelling. Legend tells of how Epictetus, a revered Stoic teacher, would captivate audiences with allegories, fables, and vivid examples illustrating his points. Unlike academic philosophers reciting abstract theories, he understood that the most cogent arguments tap into emotion, weaving perspective-expanding narratives. Consider a manager trying to convince her executive team to embrace a bold new initiative with an unfamiliar technology stack. They're initially hesitant, citing concerns about the risks and resources required and predicting low ROI. Rather than responding with dry statistics and trying to make her case logically, the wise manager instead tells an evocative tale. She reminds them of early internet days, when many short-sighted Fortune 500 leaders dismissed websites as mere marketing gimmicks, only to get left behind when digital disruption hit. She draws parallels between those skeptical of the internet, then to AI adoption barriers now. She speaks of agile underdog startups, embracing these tools early and unlocking revolutionary efficiency gains, market share, and profitability as a result. Ultimately, her compelling narrative helps reframe the conversation. The imagery resonates more deeply than mere mathematical projections may have. Within her story, they recognize both cautionary lessons and possibilities, such as the authority storytelling grants. Much like movies reflect back moving mirrors into society and human nature, skillful narrative placement allows you to guide the emotional interpretation of challenges, goals, and priorities. Marcus Aurelius himself frequently applied analogy and anecdote to drive home teachings in his meditations. To apply this when seeking to influence decisions, communicate ideas, or establish thought leadership, eschew dry data dumps. Instead, vividly illustrate your point through relatable imagery and narrative. Lesson 4. Apply the principle of reciprocity. Anthropologists suggest that, along with language and tool use, reciprocity has remained among humanity's defining traits throughout history. The innate impulse to respond to gifts and good deeds in kind helped even primitive tribes cooperate towards stability and survival against harsh odds. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once observed that while we teach, we learn. This perfectly captures the essence of reciprocity. It beautifully illustrates how giving value freely often returns exponential dividends. By generously sharing your knowledge, compassion, and talents without expectation, you organically build goodwill. In the process, you learn, grow connections, and develop allies inclined to offer assistance when needed. Imagine you're new to a company and seeking to establish yourself as a team player. You make an effort to assist colleagues whenever possible, without seeking praise. You offer thoughtful feedback to improve processes. You demonstrate a willingness to volunteer for unglamorous tasks when necessary for collective benefit. Over time, even during stressful projects requiring stretching beyond your job scope, those same teammates eagerly offer support. They align goals to help showcase your work. Momentary sacrifices result in disproportionate rewards, such as the power of reciprocity in action, clear communication, and the fulfillment of mutual needs to positive ends. A rising tide lifts all ships. Marcus Aurelius extolled living for the common welfare as an act of wisdom rather than selflessness. Nurturing group belonging ensures greater safety while advancing noble causes bigger than oneself. In that spirit, build virtuous cycles of cooperation through generosity of time and care. If you have made it this far, I ask that you leave a comment below to show you are truly committed to implementing these teachings for positive change. Please also take a moment to like this video and subscribe to receive more content on leveraging Stoic wisdom for self-mastery. Your engagement fuels our ability to reach others who may benefit from applying these principles, just as you do. Lesson 5. Prioritizing yourself. Marcus Aurelius offered extensive rumination on the futility of seeking validation from external events or individuals over which we lack control. He urged Stoics to derive confidence and motivation from disciplined introspection and mastery over one's own judgments and assumptions instead. By focusing energy on self-improvement and realizing that your worth isn't defined by others' opinions, you build an unshakable foundation of self-esteem. This projects a commanding presence from within. People unconsciously afford greater respect and admiration to those clearly on solid footing in their skin than to those desperately seeking assurance. It's why we extol talented artists, boldly embracing their individuality, but dismiss tryhards chasing trends, seeking applause. Prioritizing robust self-care also builds resilience to withstand life's storms. Think of yourself as a sturdy oak tree rather than a bending reed. Tend your roots through learning, self-expression, and rest. Build thick bark by embracing unique talents without over-personalizing criticism. Grow expansive branches to enjoy life's bounty. Soon you'll discover people drawn to take shelter under your canopy during their storms, hoping to absorb some hardness in the process. But don't merely pretend to have confidence like an insecure actor. Actualize it through authentic self-work. As Aurelius noted, man's worth lies not in fame or approval, but in strength of will. Invest time in understanding your core values. What legacy will you leave when you no longer seek others' validation? Who would you be if not chained to fragile ego-chasing applause? The answers unlock your best self. After prioritizing growth in competence and character without concern for impressions, respect flows naturally. Lesson 6. Deeply listen to people. Epictetus declared that nature gives us 2 ears, but only 1 mouth, so we may hear twice as much as we speak. How appropriate in this age of noise, in one-upmanship passing for discourse. The current zeitgeist celebrates loud opinion over nuanced insight. Yet truly wise influencers distinguish themselves not through mere talking, but through the lost art of attentive listening instead. Rather than anxiously rehearsing your next clever retort while someone is speaking, offer them the priceless gift of your full presence. Eliminate inner filtering so you can digest their words free of prejudice. Calibrate nonverbal cues to uncover their authentic emotions and unspoken inferences. Listen, not just to respond, but to understand the complex context. This builds tremendous rapport and cognitive empathy. You gain valuable insider perspectives you'd otherwise miss if focused only on inserting your viewpoint. The benefits of deep listening extend far beyond merely avoiding embarrassing miscommunication. They open up unique leverage points, allowing you to guide conversations and decisions along unexpected trajectories through subtle kindness, humor, or reason. Honest listening also helps recognize unmet needs and emotional barriers that may require addressing first before parties can align on mutual goals. Removing those obstacles prevents conflict and facilitates cooperation. As Aurelius noted, seek not good from without, but truth from within. External validation pales beside the wisdom and interpersonal currency master listeners accumulate over time. Try implementing this during your next tense office meeting. Avoid rehearsing your agenda in your mind as others detail theirs. Give them your full attention and discover hidden possibilities. Lesson 7. Create a sense of scarcity. The pioneering psychologist Robert Cialdini elevated scarcity to prominence within modern influence theory. His extensive studies revealed that, besides reciprocation, humans instinctively place higher value on things that are rare, exclusive, or dwindling in availability. Limited edition collectibles fetch astronomical secondary market prices. The same principle applies to interpersonal dynamics. Marcus Aurelius counsels Stoics to live simply with self-restraint. Contentment stems less from hoarding possessions, but appreciating life's transient gifts in the moment. This scarcity mindset applies to social capital as well. Ensure friendly acquaintances don't take your delightful company for granted by sprinkling thoughtful unavailability into interactions. You needn't be permanently absent or standoffish. Occasionally, politely decline invitations if exhausted or overcommitted. Respond to non-urgent chit-chat on your schedule rather than instantly. Soon they begin recognizing precious, stolen moments together as special treats rather than assuming endless access as a given. They carry positive memories of prior conversations farther by unconsciously noting their ephemeral nature during gaps. Again, this isn't about playing manipulative games. Over-engineering false scarcity risks seeming aloof rather than alluring. The intention is simply to value each other's limited earthly time appropriately to enjoy quality relationships before parting ways. When not overused, modest scarcity builds desire, captures reciprocal priority, and sweetens reconnection. Lesson 8. Master your emotions. Few historical figures faced fiercer adversity with greater resilience than Stoic philosopher Seneca. Despite his immense power and wealth as Nero's advisor, he endured repeated exile and imprisonment before being compelled to commit suicide. Throughout these roller coaster tribulations, his writings stressed maintaining equanimity and philosophical wisdom for peace of mind. External chaos needn't penetrate inward serenity, fortified by reason and contemplation. Seneca noted that while we can't control events, we dictate our judgments and reactions. This central pillar of psychological flexibility perfectly encapsulates the Stoic approach to emotional mastery. By training ourselves to pause during provocation, creating space for critical thought before response, we short-circuit destructive reactive patterns. Modern cognitive behavioral therapy strongly echoes this ethos. Additionally, when others witness us maintaining centered calm, despite surrounding turmoil, they intuitively seek to orbit our stability. Nervous energy aligns itself with steadfast poles. Anchors earn followers in a storm. Learning to gently influence others' emotional trajectories without manipulation requires deep presence and compassion. When volatile egos clash, insert peaceful solutions, focused language into tense debates. Hear each viewpoint fully before suggesting pragmatic synthesis or tabling where irreconcilable differences persist. Provide measured, optimistic outlooks grounded in reality rather than false hope or alarmism. Float creative alternatives or reframing. In time, groups will look to your reasoned example to illuminate the wise path forward together. Lesson 9. Willingness to walk away. Legend tells of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, born a slave yet teaching as a free man. When once unlawfully imprisoned for his influential lectures critiquing authority overreach, he calmly told his captors that they could fetter his flesh, but his independent spirit remained untouchable behind bars. This steadfast self-assuredness stemmed from wholly embracing his circumstances without clinging attachment. Stoics consider the only true imprisonment to be that of one's own mind, limiting beliefs that reinforce victimhood or helplessness when faced with unjust external events, no longer serving our growth. The only way for light to enter a dark room is opening doors and windows to let illumination overwhelm shadow. Walking away signals your sovereign worth and opens new, hopeful horizons. Seneca's writings repeatedly counsel refusing to define one's internal validity by those attempting to marginalize or oppress alternative voices. Instead, boldly liberate yourself from constraining scenarios by embracing change and progress despite the discomfort of the unfamiliar. This isn't about callous disregard for community ties if encountering conflict, but rather healthfully disentangling from relationships, no longer allowing mutual growth when irreconcilable differences emerge. Once free of stagnating environments draining motivation, you regain energy to collaborate with new tribes aligned to your current expansion and vision. Willingness to respectfully walk away conveys self-respect and shows you won't compromise core principles. It earns you respect and authority. People invest more in those commanding their destinies. There you have it, 9 ethical influence principles rooted in Stoic philosophy for elevating social presence. From artful mystery to emotional mastery, applying any sharpened awareness and skills compounds. What strategies resonate most? Which seems challenging currently? Let us support each other's journeys of mindful self-mastery through discussion.